take a Rubio. Should we explain Rubio breaks?
Sure.
Marco Rubio was the unfortunate person to have to give the Republican response back from an Obama, State of the Nation speech, and so he had this horrible thing where he was trying to do stuff with water. It was so embarrassing. He couldn't decide. It was really fun. Should I take a drink? Should I not? So we call these Rubio breaks in honor of Senator Marco Rubio. That's how it works. So yeah,
all right,
go for it.
So yeah, we're the Greg and Donny News Show. I'm the Dirty Liberal, and Greg here is.
And I was Spartacus last week. This week I'm Batman.
Yes, live from the Batcave.
Live from the Batcave. This is our new production studio, so we have taken a quantum leap forward in our production capacity. So we can now do things that we've never done before because we have two wonderful people helping us. And so again, here we are in the Batcave, thousands of feet below sea level in the subterranean chamber. And so we shall do what we do and keep you going here. So what we do is we talk about the news.
We do.
And it's, I'm a former morning host at WEBY, looking for another show. So if anybody, however far this stretches anywhere in the country, except really cold climates, let me know, because I want to get back on the air. But as far as everything goes, Donny's the liberal, I'm the conservative, and we just sort of talk from there. Got an issue?
I do. So, I wanted to take a little bit of time to defend Bill Nelson, because they've been really throwing everything at him lately.
I haven't heard a lot about that race. It's interesting. I think it's almost like the conservative media in Florida has sort of anointed, Rick Scott.
Yeah.
Well, he's governor, he's going to be senator. This is like the logical progression. And you're saying that's not the case. Okay.
First of all, in my opinion, he's been a pretty good senator. I mean, we've talked a little bit about the whole Save Pensacola Beach thing.
Okay.
It would have already been sold if not for Senator Nelson.
Yeah, can you explain
a lot of people,
that? Well, because I'm confused. First of all, we should talk about who Save Pensacola Beach is, because I remember those folks from Earth Day in Pensacola. But I think there's a lot of confusion, especially for people that are visiting. I was reading something in the news journal the other day about someone was, in front of someone's house, but they were like miles in front of their house, and they said, "Get off my property. This is my beach." And I'm like, wait a minute, they're like. Your beach, I think it only extends 15 feet. Is the actual part. That's your part of the beach, and there's problems. People don't know how this property thing works. So you've lived here a long time. Can you explain? How's it work?
Well, it's like you said. There's more or less a growing movement to sell off a decent amount of the beach and make just about all of it like you just described.
Public beach or private beach?
Private beach.
Oh, see, that's a problem. See, now as a this is why I don't like to call myself a conservative, because a conservative would conserve.
Right.
And the beach is, as far as I'm concerned, everybody should have access to the beach. I don't want to have, rich folks who can afford condos. I'm going to sound like you for a minute, okay? I don't want to have rich folks who can afford condos having all the beach access. That makes no sense to me. All right. On the other hand, my conservation side comes out. I don't want the sea turtles mess with. I don't want the sea birds when they're nesting mess with. But I don't want. But the economy is dependent on millions of people coming to our beaches. So the question is, how do we find that balance? How do we, allow people to do that? But one of the ways we don't do it is to cordon off beach and make it all private property. That makes no sense to me.
Right. And throughout the state, the leading Republican establishment as a whole is all for that. And Senator Nelson has been fighting tooth and nail against it every step of the way.
How is this a federal issue, though? I mean, the state is.
He's our senator.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, well, I know that. But what I'm saying is, why isn't this a state issue or a county issue, or is it as well?
It is.
Okay, but what jurisdiction does the federal government have over these beaches, except for the National Seashore down by Navarre, for example?
I mean, that is a good question. This was just a situation where people asked their senator to help them, and he looked into it and decided he would indeed help them.
But that's my question too. Is it appropriate for it's like, when we have our Supreme Court arguments, which we're going to have more of.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because Kavanaugh, neither of us like Kavanaugh for completely different reasons. It's kind of fascinating. But that's a question that I have, is that why would you go to a senator for a problem that might be a state issue? Of course they're not going to say, no, I can't help you. First of all, it's an election year. Secondly, they want to be responsive to their constituents anyway. But I don't think that necessarily follows that if you go to, Senator Nelson, and was Senator Rubio approached by this problem at all?
I'm not 100% sure, but what I can tell you is that in this particular issue, I mean, the local politicians, our congressman, the governor, everyone you're mentioning on the state level is for this. Nelson
for what exactly?
For selling the beach.
Okay, who owns it now? Who owns it?
Well, selling different parts of the beach, rather.
But somebody has to own it to sell it.
It's public right now.
And so there's okay. So where's the money going to go? Who's going to buy sections of the beach, and who's going to get that money?
Well, no one really knows yet. I imagine some people will just want to buy.
I want to sell some beach.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna be like, what do they call it? Squatters? Remember back in the old days when people used to sit down on land? They say, okay, this is my land. I own it now. Or some of the the homesteaders, you know, they'd get the government would give them a certain portion of land, and it could have been rocks.
Yeah,
it could have been good land. But is that what's happening? Are people, you know, where we need a map? Is there a website that actually delineates what's public, what's private, so we can look at this? Because I would post that to our site.
It might be. I'll look into it.
We'll talk to our production crew.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is this something that we could do? Can we superimpose maps into our videos?
You better believe it.
Okay, that's perfect. All right, so we're going to do that. So those are some of the additional things. In fact, if you have a suggestion for us in the news, we're becoming a much more intensive.
We are.
We're going to call it total news. Okay, so it's going to be analysis, commentary, stories, facts, figures, interviews. It's going to be a complete news service, unlike anything else, because we're constantly innovating here. In fact, we even have a camera to one side, which is an innovation. I kind of like it in the middle, but that's. Is it? You think it's better there? Okay.
Kind of gives a little bit of angle, and we might even do one from Donny's side as well. And then
do you like stereo? Can you flip back and forth? Can you like producers, you know, with the headset? Camera one, camera two. Let's get his good side. Yeah.
Camera two. Camera one.
Yeah. So you can be that person. Like I always want to be the person with the cones at the airport. I only want to do it once. I want to bring in a plane. Okay, I want to bring in an airliner. Come on, guys. Yeah, okay, right. You do like the airplane thing, get right up next to the window, and then stop them. Yeah, exactly. All right.
There we go.
So the beach, that's a good point.
So what some people would want to do is just buy a certain area, fence it off entirely, and just that be their beach. Some people
That's selfish.
want to buy it and start drilling out there.
Okay, so wait a minute. So where do the oil rights begin and the private property end? So if you buy beachfront property, does it end where the water begins?
That's another one of those things they're really trying to figure out.
Okay, and the tides change too. Okay. Oh, here's another one. Let me go into your ballpark for a while. Climate change.
Yes.
So if the seas are rising, would you lose property value because your land is shrinking? I'm sorry, I cracked myself up. Well, gotcha on that one.
Yeah.
I have stumped the liberal. It happens sometimes. Are you guys enjoying this as much as we are?
Absolutely.
Good. Okay, good. So it's our production crew. This is the first time I actually watched us, you know, do one of these. It's really not different than you see on camera, is it?
No.
What you see is what you
No,
get.
but it's good though. I mean,
Because we
it's-
don't edit these
absolutely.
things. Yeah, he'll be like the guy that joined us, you know, in the gazebo with that strange voice in the background. You know, so how's Alabama doing this week? Yeah, he was wonderful. Here's what you guys missed, and the gentleman that you hear his voice in our video from last Saturday was an incredible person. He's a veteran. He was telling us the most amazing stories of his service. He's seen sites that you really don't want to hear about, but you need to. He's one of these guys, and so he's the one that did all the dirty work, so a lot of other people could stay home and you know, sit around and watch sports on Sunday afternoons. I mean, he's one of these guys.
We love to have him on.
We love to have him on, but we're going to work with him. We're going
We
to take, you know, it's up to him if he wants to come on and share some of these stories. They're pretty graphic. I mean, we sat around afterwards and we're amazed at some of the things we heard. And so there are people out there that have a story, which reminds me of a point that I brought up to you earlier. If anybody has a story they want to share, if you want to be on the show, we're open to guests.
We are.
You don't have to wait for us to, you know, to call you up and say, hey, you want to be on the Greg and Donny show? Email or what's the other? We got our Facebook page, Greg and Donny News Show Facebook page. We'll get those messages. If you have a story to tell, we want to hear it. Okay, because this is all part of our total news outreach, which includes everything from hopefully investigative reports at some point, on-camera interviews with official folks like we're doing now. Yeah,
So we got off topic from Senator Nelson.
we'll get back to Senator Nelson.
Yeah.
Well, see, you got to understand, ADHD UI. Have I explained ADHD UI? Okay, do you know what ADHD UI is? Okay, that's attention deficit hyperactive disorder with unlimited imagination. Okay, that's my problem. It's my diagnosis for who I am.
I have a similar issue.
Well, there you go. This is why we can do this. So if you can't talk about 3 topics at the same time, what are you doing here? Okay. So back to Senator Nelson.
Yes.
All right. So why? Why him? What makes him such a good senator?
Yeah, so
You
locally...
got a call right now?
Not anymore.
Okay, good. Bye.
So, yeah, locally he's helped us out. He's just done stuff like that all over. He's been, in my opinion, a good senator.
What makes a good senator?
Good at your job. Doing what you were elected to do.
What was his promise? What was he elected to do?
It really just a typical Democratic platform.
You don't know what he was elected to do you? Oh, come on.
I haven't-
Admit it. Come on, you don't know.
No,
come on.
I know.
Please.
I know his stances. I know his platform.
Okay.
I'll admit I haven't looked into his 2000 campaign that originally got him in.
Did he vote independently of Chuck Schumer?
Mm-hmm.
Ever?
Oh yeah.
On what?
Well, for starters, he made me pretty mad, but he voted to confirm. Who was the guy before Kavanaugh? I should know
Gorsuch.
this. Gorsuch. He voted to confirm Gorsuch.
He's a swamp rat too. I'll
Yeah.
tell you about Gorsuch sometime. In fact, if you go to my Action Radio podcast page, I have. In fact, I just posted the four shows I did on the Supreme Court. Gorsuch is Ann Gorsuch's son. All right, Ann Gorsuch was EPA leader under I think Bush the first, Bush the elder, and so this guy is like Washington royalty. You know, and so I had no use for Gorsuch. I have even less for Kavanaugh. In fact, my thing is to basically kick all of them off the Supreme Court and start again with a pre-John Marshall court. That's going to take some explaining. It's all in the recordings I made for the show, but that's part of the problem. So you're saying Nelson voted for Gorsuch, though, right? Why did he do that? Do you know?
I don't remember his specific reasoning. I guess they just met one-on-one, and Nelson liked what he heard.
Okay.
I didn't agree with that, but
Okay.
yeah, he is. They say he's probably the most independent senator. So we had the other day this Tampa newspaper. I don't remember which one. But
Okay.
it leans to the left. Sort of wrote an attack piece on him.
Kind of like this way?
Yes.
Okay, right.
An attack piece on it, insinuating he wasn't progressive enough because he wasn't with Andrew Gillum on everything.
Oh, wait.
So-
Oh, that's now. So who? Well, let's consider the source. Okay, so who's the newspaper that did this?
I don't remember the exact name of the paper. It was
Tampa
based in
paper?
Tampa.
Total Socialists?
Not total socialist. It's their local newspaper.
Okay.
And their editorial section leans to the left.
Okay. So you got a liberal paper and an editorial is even more liberal.
Yeah.
Okay. So that makes sense. So the sources that will they'll write articles based on I've got an article I was reading from the National Review, which is highly conservative, on Andrew Gillum. So they're going to just rake him up and down the coals, or however that saying goes, because his program is completely socialist. But if you've got a liberal newspaper saying that Nelson isn't socialist enough, there are many divisions within the Democrat Party. Bill Nelson strikes me more of a traditional liberal Democrat as opposed to an Alexandria Cortez socialist or Bernie Sanders socialist Democrat. But the party has room for that, just as we have room for our swamp rat, horrible establishment people and our freedom, caucus. But they're all Republicans, but they're very different within that. So Nelson struck me as sort of like the moderate Republican. But the problem with all of these people is that they have to go along with their respective leaders. That's the problem.
He doesn't do it.
Yeah.
And I respect him for it.
Okay.
And so, yeah, on the left,
Okay.
these progressives, or many of whom I'm friends with, are just going after him and, in my opinion, hurting his chances of winning. And then on the other end, this was actually posted the other day on the WEVY page, and I've seen stuff like this on other conservative sources. That's just the closest to home.
Yeah.
They're saying Nelson runs as a moderate, but he's one of the most socialist senators in there.
Oh, isn't that interesting? So
Like,
it depends.
yeah.
So the conservatives think he's a socialist. The liberals think he's a moderate.
The guy just can't get a break.
Poor guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just a standard middle-of-the-road type, listens to everyone, wants to help as much as he can. In my opinion, one of our best senators.
Okay.
Of course, I'm a bit biased because he's also our senator.
Yeah.
But I
You're
just don't...
you're supposed to be biased. This is a
Yeah,
biased news show.
exactly.
We make no pretense at objectivity here whatsoever. If we did, you wouldn't listen to us.
We're the most trusted and biased names in news.
No, but and this is true. But there's a reason that we state the obvious that we are biased. Is because all news is biased anyway. If you have any news source, I don't care whether it's Fox News or CNN. If they say we're
Objectivity is a lie.
objective, they're not objective. Not at all. First of all, they're responsible to the corporate, handlers, which
Yes.
tell them, I'll say what's interesting. Speaking of corporations, just to segue a bit, which we do often, Fox News, they've stopped saying illegal alien.
Really?
They say illegal immigrant. Okay, which is wrong. Of course, it's illegal alien. But the point. Well, you got that one by you. That was good. All right.
No, I agree.
But okay, good. But the point is that this language change, I think, has been imposed on Fox News, and no one's really picking up on it. I pick up on it because words are my thing. Anybody, inflections, everything, and I notice it right away. So that's the problem. We don't have that. Okay, we can be as conservative and liberal and socialist and reactionary as we want, and so I think it's a lot more honest.
It is.
Yeah. Now, Bill Nelson has not struck me as a threat one way or the other because he is a moderate. I mean, I don't agree with a lot of his stance, but I don't see him as damaging as some of the other folks. But here's the problem with Congress, and this affects both of the folks that we support. Even though the different folks we support, the people that say they're going to be independent of Nancy Pelosi in the House, they can't. Because if she becomes Speaker, which she will, she controls the committee assignments. All right. The same thing with Paul Ryan. As much as Paul Ryan was a swamp rat, traitorous Republican. I don't mean in the sense of traitorous to the nation. I mean to the goals of what the Republican Party is. Speaker Ryan was terrible. I mean, he was awful. But he controlled the committee assignments. So you couldn't vote. That's why he kept winning, even though people ran against him. The only reason that Jim Jordan's running against him now is because he's already said he's retiring. So that's how that has to work. And so the problem is people can talk as independent as they want, but when it comes down to it, they're going to vote for the person most likely to be Senate Majority Leader or Speaker of the House because they want the committee assignments. They want their chairs. They want to maintain their power base.
Well, even in the early Obama days, when there was a huge Democratic majority and Pelosi was running the show, he was still very independent.
Bill Nelson?
Bill Nelson, yeah.
I think you've crossed your House and Senate there a little bit. Now, because so who was Majority Leader? Harry Reid.
Harry Reid
was Majority Leader when Bill Nelson was in the Senate before, and Nancy Pelosi was in the House. But I'll tell you what was interesting, that they, Now Nancy Pelosi, which was something that Ryan isn't doing, Nancy Pelosi wouldn't let Republicans even offer an amendment. They couldn't do anything. They basically had no voice, no power, no nothing. And so that people forget that. And so that's I'm surprised the Republicans haven't campaigned on that, because that's a real problem. If she gets back in, there will be no Republican voice in Congress. I don't think it's going to go that way. I think the Republicans are going to retain it. I think the same thing is happening now that happened in the 2016 election. The Republicans are not reporting who they're voting for. They're kind of sitting in the background. They're going to come out on election day, and not as big as the presidential, but I still think we're going to have, at least I hope so anyway. And that's what I have to decide. Is this part wishful thinking on my part? That the Senate and the House will stay Republican, especially with Trump as president, because that's when things can get done, once we get the swamp out of the way.
The Senate, I don't know. The House, I think it's very likely to go Democrat.
Okay. How do we bet on that without doing money? Because they're both poor. We need a wager. We need to do something. We need like a dare or something like that. So we got to think. I'll put it to you guys. Okay. So what do you want us to do if the House stays Republican, then Donny has to do something, and if this could be kind of funny, we might be we're not going to do anything dangerous. Okay, I'm not bungee jumping. Don't even think, So we have a veto power over this, all right. But what should I do if the House goes Democrat?
I will not shave my head.
I won't either.
There we go.
Yeah, so we got that decided. Yeah,
those are our.
We look so good right now, so we have to, But that'd be interesting. We got to do something.
Yeah.
I don't know. Eat 2 ice cream sundaes, within 5 minutes or something stupid.
All right.
I might need help with that. Anyway, we'll think of something. But if you have an idea for us, it's something that we should do if this happens. Okay, I got another issue. We had 2 speeches by one ex-president and one president this week, and I put them back to back on both the Greg and Donny Facebook page, news show page, and my own Action Radio page. And I wanted to do that because I wanted people to see the contrast. And of course, I made my highly cheap shot posting where I said, Obama keeps talking about everything that's wrong with the country. Trump talks about everything that's right with the country. And I got a lot of response to that. But what did you think of those 2 speeches?
Well, I preferred Obama's.
Of course you did.
Yeah.
You're a socialist. I'd be surprised if you didn't. But why? What was it about it? Because I find him contemptible. What is it about it that you find? Are you inspired by him? Is there something that? What is it? Help me out here.
It was just nice hearing a real president talk again. There's my cheap shot.
There's your cheap shot for today. Okay, fine. So you guys keep scoring the cheap shot. In fact, here's a graphic for you. Here's a graphic idea. So put behind our heads, the cheap shot board, and bring it out whenever you hear one. Just put a little check mark. Okay, don't even tell us you're doing it. Just kind of edit it right in.
Yeah.
Cheap shot. Okay, so this is how we're going to, we're actually developing the program as we are, because we do have a production staff here. So to remind you once again, you're listening to the Greg and Donny News Show. I'm the conservative, he's the liberal, and we have a production crew of 2 wonderful people that are being amazingly helpful, and we're just throwing ideas at them right now. So, poor folks, we're just kind of doing this on the fly. Although one of our people is staring at us. Are you texting over there?
No.
Okay, fine. You're involved with what we're doing? Okay, good. Make sure.
I'm trying to keep myself quiet because I would love to talk to.
You know what we should do? We are going to have, in fact, that's a good idea. Let's do a production person show. Let's bring you, in fact, you 2 guys can be like our...
with your headphones, you have to keep them on the whole time.
No, you don't. In fact, let's have you guys do a show. But you're both conservatives, though, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're gonna gang up on Donny.
It's happened before.
No, I see just you two by yourselves.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, we certainly.
Well, we have long
don't
debates
agree on
anyway.
everything.
No, we'll yell questions at you.
Uh-huh.
We won't leave you alone. We are, after all, the professionals. Anyway, okay. So, any more on Obama? Okay.
Donny, what you had to say?
Well, I find it fascinating that all my liberal friends kept saying, gee, it was nice to have a president who can speak in complete sentences. I'm like, yeah, he's reading off a friggin' teleprompter. Of course he's speaking in complete sentences. They're all written out for him because he couldn't make them up on his own. Okay? So Trump, the president who has a brain, who actually knows what he wants to say because he speaks from his heart. He doesn't speak from propaganda pieces written for him by speechwriters that have no clue what they're doing, and they don't even know they believe their own lies. I mean, it was sad to watch this because you had this horrible speech. Everything's wrong with America. You know, we're all going to judge you by your skin color. You know, we want to say that we want to split. It's almost like he splits everybody up into skin color and then says we all have to get together. I mean, it's the communist dialectic to the maximum. Do you know what I mean by that?
And you know, when I heard Trump give out Lindsey Graham's number on stage that one time, I was so inspired.
What does that have to do with
That's all we're
anything?
doing right there.
What does
Just
that
comparing them as speakers.
That has nothing to do with it.
Just as a speaker.
And I still have,
That's him.
You still haven't answered
That's-
my question. Communist dialectic. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I do.
Okay, fine. Do you guys know? Should we tell them what's... All right. Communist dialectic is where everything is opposite, where everything is torn down, where the whole argument is completely reversed. In other words, diversity is not. You know, diversity is people who all think exactly the same thing. You pretend it's skin color, but it's not. Tolerance. The most intolerant people in the world are people who talk about being tolerant. That's the communist dialectic. Everything is backwards, everything is reversed, okay? Saul Alinsky, Rules for Radicals. It's a way to tear down society, put everybody against each other, and then...
You're recording now.
Okay.
So...
Red light.
We're gonna make this another part to our video here because we had a little bit of break. We were talking. This is the Greg and Donny News Show. I am Greg Penglis, conservative.
And I'm Donny T. West, and this man seems to think Obama's a communist.
He's a communist.
No, he's not.
Or he's a socialist. He's a progressive. Whatever he is, he's a globalist. I think that's probably more an accurate way of putting it. What we were talking about in the previous video, just to get you caught up, was the fact that there were two speeches this week, pretty much, I think on the same day.
Yeah.
One where ex-President Obama was in a liberal university surrounded by people that think exactly like he does, so of course they loved it. President Trump speaking to pretty much the same crowd,
Right.
Republicans who liked him too. But the point is they were so different in their speeches. So please go to the Greg and Donny Facebook page, Greg and Donny News Show Facebook page, and you can see both presidential speeches. And also my Action Radio with Greg Penglis page has the speeches as well. But it's actually, now I put up a posting, I don't know if you saw this, saying, you know, when's the debate?
Yeah. I would love to see it.
I think a lot of people would love to see it. You know, it would benefit Obama more than Trump because Obama's not in office, he has nothing to lose.
Right.
But I think Trump's just egotistical and ballsy enough to do it. And I think it would be a fascinating discussion because first of all, you couldn't do it in the presidential election because Trump is running. He'll be running for re-election then, which he's going to win anyway. But that's where you put the check mark behind me, okay? For the cheap shot.
Franken 2020.
What?
Al Franken.
Al
2020.
Franken?
Al Franken.
Have you ever seen his clips from Saturday Night Live?
Yeah, I love him.
Al Franken. This is Al Franken. You know, he did the voice and the whole bit. He looked like he was a child. Now, you see him as this old guy in the Senate. It was really funny to watch the difference between them. Okay, well, if you want to post the Al Franken platform and try and defend that, you know, Mr. Abuser grabbed the Air Force woman, you know, at 30,000 feet. You know,
Oh, the personal
that
friend of Roger Stone?
Who's-
The regular guest on Sean Hannity's show?
You've been waiting to say this.
Yes.
This is obviously important
Yes.
to you. Okay, so who's Roger Stone? I'm not familiar.
Roger Stone. He's this big political consultant. He was Trump's first campaign manager.
Oh, I hate
He's
consultants.
been around since Nixon.
Oh,
He's
old.
yeah.
So, does he talk like
Big
this?
as-
I've got some ideas for you there, Sonny.
No, he's
Okay.
he's actually sort of a new age type.
Okay.
You'd probably like him a lot. There's a documentary on Netflix, Get Me Roger Stone.
Sounds like a Michael Moore thing.
He has a tattoo of Nixon on his back.
What?
Yeah.
That's scary.
And he's a big Nixon loyalist. Since he met Trump in the 80s, he's wanted Trump to be president. He was kind of the one who groomed him, prepped him for
And
it.
that's really interesting. Now, Trump, in fact, there's this recording of him talking about that on an Oprah Winfrey show back in the 80s as well. Now, here's the ironic thing about Trump. although I didn't recognize it right away, I was thinking if anybody's going to really help this country, they have to be so rich they can't be bribed, okay? They have to be independent, they have to be completely fearless, they have to not care what anybody says about them to make the changes that have to be made, and that's pretty much what Trump is doing. And so, although I hadn't, picked it, and I was a Ted Cruz supporter. I still am. I think he'd make a great president because he, again, my criteria always is who's going to operate most closely within the Constitution. And then Trump wasn't going to do it because he hasn't studied it since he was a kid. Okay, so he's going to have to be sort of reined in on that issue, like a lot of presidents. And Obama studied the Constitution, but only so he could violate it. But that's whole different. So that's But the two speeches are really quite interesting. Here's a couple things. Obama lied about the economy. There's this new thing now where he's saying, the economy. First of all, he said the economy is never going to get above 2%. As he was leaving office. Of course, now that it's 4.1%, Obama's saying, well, yeah, we started that back in my administration. Okay, you can't have it both ways. Right? You can't say that the economy is never going to get above 2%. Oh, woe is us, the manufacturing jobs are never going to come back. And as soon as they do come back, Obama says, well, that's because of me, I started that, when he never thought it was going to happen anyway. You can't do that. You can't have it both ways. That's why I don't like Obama.
Well, the growth that is happening was possible because of the Obama economy. I mean, do you really think?
Do you have a bucket? Do you have a bucket, guys? I need a bucket. I need to lose my lunch on this one.
Do you really think?
Are you insane?
Do you really think if Trump were coming in on writing the Bush economy, things would be the same?
That is a great question. Yes. Well, I'll tell you why. Because tax cuts always work. Okay. The biggest problem with Obama was the same thing with Roosevelt when he extended the Great Depression by 10 years. He didn't let the market work. Okay, you can shake your head. Okay, it doesn't matter. I saw you do that. You're not going to get away with that. All right, but no. But if you look at the greatest booms in our economy since actually the 1800s. I don't know the presidents, but tax cuts have always worked. Okay, I think Lincoln had a tax cut, but the one I do know about is Calvin Coolidge, who cut the budget in half, cut the national debt in half, and that resulted in the Roaring '20s. Now, there are other problems, there are market problems, the market crashed and things happened.
Right.
And then there was a big recession, which we could have recovered from in 2 or 3 years like normal. But because of all the social programs and the spending, it actually got extended into World War II, which really saved Roosevelt's butt, because otherwise we could have been in depression for years longer. Okay. But Calvin Coolidge's tax cuts and budget cuts and national debt cuts caused the Roaring '20s. John Kennedy, JFK's tax cuts, in fact, I should post the YouTube, his tax cuts created a huge raise in the economy. In fact, Nixon was the one that screwed it up with wage and price controls. So Nixon was the socialist, Kennedy was the capitalist. It's fascinating if you take a look at these two things. Nixon screwed up the economy because he used socialist wage and price controls and all kinds of market fixes and Federal Reserve notes and printing money and crap like that. And JFK was the capitalist. And then you move on to Reagan, his tax cuts worked. The Bush the elder, his tax increases because he violated the pledge. No, read my lips, no new taxes. He violated that. No, because he raised taxes and the economy started downhill. Clinton had Newt Gingrich, had the Republicans. They actually worked together to cut the deficit. They got rid of the deficit. They had a surplus. We had a great economy, not because of Clinton, but because he actually went along with the whole program. They worked together. So he could have said no. He could have been the socialist like he was in the beginning, but he's smart enough to recognize this is working. So Gingrich and Clinton created a great economy. Then Bush, the socialist globalist, the second comes in, screws it all up again, spends $2 trillion fighting a war that we couldn't possibly win. And I'm really sorry for the people that went over there. I am. I think you absolutely believed you were serving your country, and I absolutely believe that was the case.
Yes.
I fault this country for sending you there. Okay, I think that was a mistake. I don't think that it's really changed much of anything. I don't think Afghanistan has either. And a lot of people have lost their lives, lost limbs, lost all kinds of things, and have problems because of that. And these are not wars we should be fighting. All right, but they cost trillions of dollars. That's why the economy suffered, as well as the whole community reinvestment thing, where banks were ordered by the federal government to make loans to people they know couldn't afford them. Then they bundled them together with corporations that were allowed to do that. Then the whole thing collapsed. That's what caused 2008. So now Trump comes along with a very sluggish economy because of all the extra regulations and the extra spending and the extra taxes and things going on, gets rid of all that, and then the economy suddenly goes from a below 2% growth to 4.1% growth within 2 years. That's what tax cuts do. That's what cuts in stupid regulations. Not good regulations, but stupid ones. That's what happens, and that's why it worked. Your turn.
Well, I know you mentioned Bush there. That brings up something I've been wanting to talk about all day.
Okay. Do you like save these things up in your head? So, because you don't write them down.
Yeah.
I at least write them down. See, written word. Okay, so I got something to work from here. Go ahead.
I had buzzwords written down for this. Well, anyway, so we were watching Fox News in my workplace earlier.
What?
That's usually what we watch there.
You're kidding.
You met my uncle, very conservative guy. So
that's true, I
He
did.
keeps Fox on because he's the boss. But anyway,
that's true. Yeah.
I noticed Karl Rove is a regular guest.
I hate Karl Rove.
Me too. All sorts of Bush people.
Socialist swamp. Well, he's a socialist. He's a swamp rat.
All sorts of Bush people are on.
Yeah.
And what I'm wondering is why are we trying to re-legitimize these people?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm with you on that.
Every last
I
one.
wish
of them.
they'd go where they belong.
Bush,
CNN.
Cheney, not even CNN. They need to just be laughed out of politics entirely.
Why don't we have the Swamp Network? And we'll put all the establishment types. No, I agree with you on this one because Karl Rove and the whole Bush crowd, it's like we have two royal families, the Clinton royal family and the Bush royal family.
Right.
And the Bushes are worse because they go back to the whole Yale, probably Plymouth Rock kind of thing. So you've got a very established political family. They want to be their own dynasty. They've had two of them be president, which is, I don't think any family should do that. That's too much power within one family. Talk about term limits. I mean, gee. We should term limit families, the family term limit bill. So anybody in your immediate family is president. That's it. You're done.
Sole exception being the Kennedys.
Because Robert? That's interesting. That's a good point.
I
like Robert Kennedy. Robert Kennedy was an optimist and a visionary, and I always admire for that. Even if I didn't agree with all his stands, I always will go with the visionary because I know their heart's in the right place, and they want to advance us. John Kennedy was a visionary. Robert Kennedy was probably even more of a visionary.
Oh, yeah.
In many ways, more of a humanitarian, but Kennedy was more the technical. He wanted us in space. Now, you notice we're going back into space now. When we go to space, people feel good.
Right.
Because it's optimistic. Because we feel patriotic again. Because we see our rockets going up. The rocket's red glare, the bombs, I don't want to say that with the Challenger, but anyway. But the point being that, it's exciting to do things like that. Now, you didn't grow up with the space program, did you, when you were a kid? So you missed out on a really special thing. Okay, so I'm going to go back.
That's why I'm all for Space Force.
Space Wars? Or the Space Force?
Yeah.
Okay, why?
Well, let me rephrase that. I am for it, but first I think we need to take care of our problems here.
But we're always going to have problems here. We can take care of our problems here and go to space.
Right.
This is the thing I've never understood with politicians. They'll say, well, do you think we should fund the war here, or do you think we should, fix housing? Well, yes. We can do a lot of things. But every issue is its own separate issue. It's not an either-or question. People, these journalists pose these ridiculous questions to people not realizing that the issues are more complex than that, and we can take on several problems at the same time, I think. Yeah, all right. Benghazi. I want to talk about that for a minute.
All right.
Because Obama called it a wild conspiracy theory, yet 4 people died. There was a stand-down order. Now, Sean Hannity was talking about this the other night on his show. And on my show, Greg Penglis, Action Radio Hour, I had 2 callers who verified that there was a stand-down, or did this on one of the anniversaries. I think we did this on September 12th while I was still on the air last year, 2017. And they actually, I've got it, I'm going to put the podcast out, but they called in. One was in the Mediterranean, the other one was, I think, over in Italy at the base that was ready to go. And they were told to stand down. That is the closest thing to treason I've seen from a president, to abandon our people in a foreign country under terrorist, or actually under military attack, and not do everything they could to save them. I don't think that's, I'm not going to fault you if you agree with me, because this isn't a partisan issue. That
Fault of leadership.
Fault of leadership, Hillary.
so like I was saying, Hillary Clinton is up to her butt in conspiracy there, and she had the gall to say in front of Congress, at this point, what difference does it make? It makes all the difference in the world, because we don't abandon our people. And you'll notice that a lot of hostages are coming out with President Trump that President Obama didn't care about. He didn't care about the Marine that was in Mexico that got there by total mistake. He didn't get the folks from Korea, or Korean Americans, out of Korea.
Right.
He wasn't working with the people in Turkey.
I always faulted him on that.
And I've always faulted him on that too. Again, that's not a partisan issue. Why is it, that how can you be pro-American and not get our people out? That's one of the most important things a president can do.
Now, from a military standpoint, I do sort of understand why they didn't go in. There was just way too much that could have gone wrong there. And,
Everything did go wrong there.
right. But I meant for the people coming in to rescue them, could have potentially started a war, could have hurt more people,
War with
including
whom?
the one...
War with whom? With who? Who started war with who?
The Libyan people.
Well, the Libyan people aren't going to attack us. Governments start wars. People don't. Okay. Now, obviously, there was probably a warlord. They were in the direction. There was like a militia. There was some kind of people's army that was doing this. It was attacking.
I'm saying we could have been dragged into something there, but that's what I am getting at is, while I understand it, my thing is we shouldn't have been in Libya in the first place.
Oh, I'll agree with you there.
Why did we have to go after Gaddafi? I get he was terrible, but there is a literal slave trade there now that wasn't there before.
Yeah.
That's the scandal, not Benghazi. The scandal is that we were in Libya in the first place.
And you know who has to answer for that is Hillary.
Yeah.
Hillary Clinton.
I mean, Obama ran on no more of Bush's, honestly, imperialist wars.
Okay.
And then he ran and started one in Libya. That was really when I decided.
Communist dialectic.
No, but that was when I really decided I didn't like Obama.
Okay. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. So, but you supported Hillary.
I supported Bernie. And
Oh, that's right. Okay, I'm sorry.
When it came down to it, I figured Hillary would be better for the American people than Trump.
Okay, so that's where I follow you. I understand you supporting Bernie Sanders a lot more than I understand you supporting Hillary Clinton. You know, I know you might want to be loyal to Democrats because that's your philosophy, and I reluctantly, thought, oh, Mitt Romney, do I have to vote for this idiot? But I did very reluctantly. What was interesting with the Bushes, I was convinced he was going to win both times, so I actually ended up voting Libertarian. Because, and I don't see that as a quote wasted vote. There's no such thing as a wasted vote. We've talked about parties and things like that before. But just to sum up on this, to call Benghazi a wild conspiracy theory, that's a huge mistake for Obama. He's going to lose points. So overall, do you think? And we'll probably hold the video at this point. We'll start another one in just a little bit. So my last question on the two presidents debating: do you think Obama's going to help or hurt the Democrat Party going to the midterms?
That's a good question. Honestly, I kind of want him to stay out of it.
Okay.
I kind of want him, both Clintons, all those people to just stay out of it. We got a lot of new people in right now.
Yeah.
We got a new message. People are actually energized, and I think the old part of the party.
What's the new message? Just to sort of sum it up, if people want to say the new Democrat message is
actually being brave and fighting and being Democrats instead of being Republican light and compromising constantly.
See, I accuse the Republicans of being Democrat light. It's kind of funny how we look at this. Okay. So what does it mean to be a strong Democrat?
Well, in recent years, we've seen a lot of Democrats. Hillary was really big on this.
She's a corrupt. She's like Democrat mafia.
Right.
I mean, she's like the worst possible example because she's a criminal. Lock her up! Lock her up! Lock her up! Sorry, I had to get that in. I feel better
really
now.
reluctant to adopt a progressive agenda because they've been chasing this mythical middle of the road voter who really doesn't exist anymore, who just wants diet Republicans, wants the Republican Party with gay marriage, pretty much. We haven't really had
we'll get that discussion
left-wing Democrats in a while.
Yeah.
That's really what it comes down to, is the actual left wing of the party has made a comeback.
How do you think it would have gone if Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump were the two nominees of the parties?
Bernie would be in the White House right now.
You think so? You really do? Okay.
Because Trump talked issues. He didn't talk them well, in my opinion, but he talked issues. While Hillary she threw out buzzwords, she had the talking points.
Oh, she said vote for me because I'm a woman.
Yes, she literally said that.
That's not a campaign.
And she just did not.
If you don't vote for me, you're not a woman.
Did not have a message. While Bernie, on the other hand, he was up there firing people up. No one who works 40 hours a week should have to live in poverty. Yeah, and all that stuff. Whether it was realistic or not, he got people fired up. He was a good candidate, and I think if it were between the two of them, Bernie would be in there right now, and Trump would be back in New York as a forgotten joke.
I think it would have been a lot more of a fair election. I think that we wouldn't have the corruption. I don't think he would have stood for the spying that went on during the Obama administration. I don't think he would have put up with that.
Spying did go on.
It did, but I think Bernie would have run a lot more decent, honest campaign based on the issues. I still disagree with him, but I respect him because I believe, I see integrity in what he thinks. He believes he's sincere about what he talks about, even though I think he's completely wrong. On that note, we're going to take a break. We'll come back with one more video this evening. I've got a few more issues to discuss. This is the Greg and Donny News Show, which you can catch on your Facebook page, the Greg and Donny News Show Facebook page, on our YouTube channel, the Greg and Donny News Show YouTube channel, and who knows where else. We're going to get a bunch of other folks. But anything in conclusion? I think we've done the Trump-Obama.
We have.
We have.
Done it to death.
And we'll be back with another one.